during one of the budget statements, the then Minister of Finance, the late Kojo Redu, and I would like to quote certain sections of that particular budget statement. I'm sure if you go back, you could do a check, particularly page 418, paragraphs 1260 to 1262. There was a section on some of the policy initiatives of the government at that time that talked about private finance initiatives. Section 1260 says, I'll just quote verbatim, Mr. Speaker, private finance initiatives are increasingly emerging as a cost-effective approach for public authorities to procure the services of the private sector to design, finance, build, and operate public cities, thus enabling the government to limit its initial outlets. 1261 of that same budget statement further said, in line with our belief in the private sector, the government will, from 2007 fiscal year, promote the use of private finance initiatives, PFI or PPPs, to stimulate private investment in public sector projects. In this regard, government will identify projects to be implemented with PFIs. Amongst the projects to be pursued are schools, residential and office buildings. To facilitate the achievement of this novel idea, Ministry of Finance and Economic Planning, in cooperation with the private sector, will develop a framework for private finance initiatives to assist MDAs in applying the private finance initiative model. I'm just trying to give a historical perspective to how the PPP unit got established and the idea of the entire PPP program, the genesis of it all. Lastly, 1262 of the same budget statement added, Mr. Speaker, in 2007, government will be inviting the private sector as PFI partners in the following key initiatives. There are some initiatives that were mentioned in that budget statement. The construction of a state-of-the-art training center for all the security agencies and funding of government involvement in the UN peacekeeping programs of the Ministry of Defense and the Ghana Police Service. As a way of generating income, government will also partner with the private sector to construct state-of-the-art health facilities across the country, including the construction of a dedicated orthopedic hospital. The facilities will be utilized by the international community, including those in the sub-region as referral points. A centralized revenue training college for all revenue agencies will be established to provide training programs to aid in improving the skills of the staff of the revenue agencies. I just went back to this budget statement just to give us a sense of what the thinking and what government have been trying to do all these years. And of course, we can trace it since 2007. So this led to the establishment of what we call the Projects and Financial Analysis Unit at the Ministry of Finance to handle a range of various assignments, project and financial analysis assignments, and also undertaking major investment projects, of course, trying to leverage government resources significantly by structuring projects using PPP and PFI procurement methods. And also that unit was to drive and coordinate the PPP process within government by developing the legislative framework, technical and policy guidance to support the PPP process and to disseminate best practice in PPPs. So the history of the PPP unit dates back in 2007 from the budget statement leading to the establishment of what we call the Project and Financial Analysis Unit. Then the Project and Financial Analysis Unit was staffed by TRE personnel, and from then, formal launch of a PPP program was done, which led to what we call a PPP diagnostic study to look at the environment within Ghana for implementing PPPs. Out of that diagnostic study, there were certain missing blocks in trying to introduce PPP within the country. One was the absence of a national policy on PPP. Secondly, the absence of a PPP law, the absence of regulations and guidance manuals. But prior to 2007 itself, I'm sure those that can recollect, there was then the Ministry of Private Sector Development and Presidential Special Initiatives. That particular ministry came out with a guideline for implementing public-private partnerships. But somehow, the ministry couldn't drive the entire PPP process and program within the country. And that is why in 2007, I think the Ministry of Finance took on that challenge to drive the PPP process. And that is what has culminated into what we are witnessing in the past 2 years. So fast forward a bit following the Ghana PPP diagnostic study, the Ministry of Finance went through a reorganization, and following the reorganization in 2010, the Public Investment Division was created as the Ghana PPP Advisory Team to take that lead role in overseeing the Ghana PPP program in Ghana. Currently, the Public Investment Division has 4 units. The Project and Financial Analysis Unit, which had existed in 2007. We have the PPP Advisory Unit, the Public Entities Unit, and there's a Strategic Projects Unit. But out of these 4 units, 2 key units that are leading and championing the PPP program within the Directorate is the Project and Financial Analysis Unit and the Ghana PPP Advisory Unit, together what we refer to as the PPP Advisory Team. The functions of the PPP unit include providing value-added project development advice and project transaction support to ministries, departments, and agencies, metropolitans, municipal, and district assemblies, state-owned and controlled entities, companies or corporations, state universities and colleges, and other contracting authorities in the public sector to enhance, 1, the identification, preparation of feasibility analysis, structuring, procurement, negotiation and contract management, and renegotiation of PPP projects. Those are some one of the core functions of the unit. Another function is to build capacity among public sector holders, MMDAs and MDAs, in order for them to be able to lead the implementation of PPP and projects from the beginning to the end within their respective ministries, and also, of course, in a competent manner. Also, the PPP unit is supposed to serve as a secretariat for what we call the PPP Approval Committee. Now, the PPP Approval Committee is a body that was created from the National Coalition of PPP, where they have the authority to approve PPP projects, particularly from the particularly on the feasibility studies that are done. The PPP Approval Committee is chaired by the Minister of Finance. Other representatives include the Chief Executive of the Ghana Investment Promotion Center, the Chief Executive of the Public Procurement Authority, the Minister of Trade and Industry, the Minister of Justice and Attorney General, and then at every sitting of the PPP Approval Committee where they are to receive projects and give approvals, the minister of a particular sector ministry that is embarking on that PPP appears before the approval committee and, following from their feasibility analysis, etc., make a presentation and justification why that project should be procured as a PPP. Other functions include promoting awareness and understanding of Ghana's PPP program in Ghana and internationally, as well as sensitization amongst MDAs, MMDAs, and public contracting authorities in order to encourage the use of PPP for selected appropriate projects. So as part of the promotion, awareness, sensitization, this global conference fits into those functions that I've mentioned. The unit is also supposed to act as a center of excellence for PPPs in Ghana and take lead responsibility for preparing mandatory policy and guidance material, including model contracts, lessons learned and case studies and plans, etc. In addition, we involve in reviewing the fiscal impact and appropriateness of guarantees and other kinds of government financial support in terms of tariff, grants, etc. for PPP projects. Other functions include screening PPP projects to ensure consistency with government policy. Not just government policy, but with sector strategic plans and any national development plan that, as a country, we have. Other functions include ensuring compliance amongst MDAs, public contracting authorities, with the administrative procedures required in PPPs and any documents that are required to be submitted. The unit is also to ensure adherence to good PPP procurement practices. We are also set up to look at broad value for money of PPP projects to see the net economic benefit of society for embarking on that particular PPP project. We are also set up to provide assistance to the various MDAs, MMDAs that want to promote PPPs in their respective sectors, and also developing, in collaboration with various relevant stakeholders, model agreements for those sectors. Lastly, also to assist MDAs in understanding the approval requirements of the PPP process and developing necessary documents for review. Understanding the PPP approval requirements is critical in ensuring that PPP projects are properly procured. And these are some of the functions that we play as a unit. Now, from 2010 till date, I'm sure from yesterday and today, you've heard that there's a national policy on PPP. So from 2010 to date, as a unit, we'll be able to get Cabinet to give an approval of the national policy on PPPs, which was launched in October 2011. Of course, through the unit, we're able to get a PPP champion in the person of the late said Dr. P.V. Obin to champion PPP delivery of PPPs at the highest level within government. We've been able to, through collaboration with various sector ministries, establish PPP teams and PPP cells at various government, ministries, department, agencies that are embarking on PPP projects. Of course, the draft law has been submitted to Cabinet, and surely soon it will go to Parliament for approval. There's ongoing PPP pipeline identification. We've developed toolkits for processing and assessing unsolicited proposals for PPP projects. We're also working on preparing guidance note on PPP project life cycle process that will guide MDAs, MMDAs, other public contracting authorities in the implementation of PPPs. We're also working on trying to come up with design instruments such as a project development facility, a viability gap scheme, and an infrastructure finance facility. With the infrastructure finance facility, it's somehow rolled into the GIIF, the Ghana Infrastructure Investment Fund. But with the project development facility, what it does is to fund project preparation activities of various public sector entities that want to embark on PPPs. So if those agencies want to do feasibility studies, they want to hire transaction advisors, they want to undertake some environmental and impact studies, that at the end of the day will help them in preparing the project and bringing it to market. This project development facility is to provide that support. We are currently at the conceptual stage and we're working closely with government and other agencies to see how best to quickly roll out the project development facility. The viability gap scheme is also a scheme that we're trying to design that will sort of support projects that, in other words, in terms of economic viability, they are viable in terms of economic cost-benefit analysis. It's viable. But in terms of financial viability, it is not. So then the idea here is to support such projects with some sort of government contribution. It could be at the construction stage of that particular project or at the operation stage of the project. This is also in the conceptualization stage, and we'll be working on it. Other things we're working on is trying to come up with a framework for managing fiscal commitments and contingent liabilities that are associated with PPPs. PPPs globally are associated with fiscal commitments and contingent liabilities. At the end of the day, government gets into a public entity will get into a contract. There are various obligations and responsibilities of that particular public sector entity which needs to be worked on. And so coming up with a framework to manage these commitments and possible liabilities arising from such projects is critical to the success of any PPP program. Of course, there's ongoing capacity building and training across various governments, MDAs, and public sector agencies. Promotion, awareness, and sensitization is also ongoing. We've come up with a quarterly publication on PPPs, a PPP quarterly bulletin. I'm sure you've seen some in your folders. We are also working on a PPP dedicated website where increasingly eventually the policy, the laws, the guidance manuals, the toolkits that we'll be developing, all will be readily available at this dedicated website. Well, a notable achievement of the unit so far was that in 2013, the unit was awarded at the World Finance PPP Awards in 2013, awarded the Ghana PPP unit as the best technical advisor in the Middle East and Africa. And also at that same World Finance Infrastructure Event, we awarded the best economic development project for the World Bank project, Ghana PPP project that we're working on and trying to support the various transaction advisory that is going on. So at least our work is being recognized globally, and hopefully through these works we are looking to the point where we see projects being closed and sword cuttings being done by the president to get construction of most of these pipeline projects going on. But aside the progress, the accolades, like every organization, there are challenges, and we recognize some of those challenges. Some of these challenges, of course, are the usual administrative bottlenecks, red tapeism, unnecessary bureaucracy delaying the PPP process, inadequate staff skills, expertise, enough authority to oversee the key phases of the project cycle, inability to attract highly skilled staff and expertise due to its current setup as a civil service entity, at times conflict of interest functions, as staff involved in gatekeeping, approval functions, also involved in PPP project development, advice, and project transaction support, and vice versa. Of course, the single structure unit in some way seems to provide difficulty and does not give strong motivation to staff to proactively push projects along if the same staff are the ones who must approve the projects at key points in the project cycle. Well, these are challenges we recognize, and we're working as a unit to see how best to fit as the PPP program evolve to set up the structure, the institutional structure, to enable an effective delivery of the PPP program as well as projects within the country. So generally, these are just a bit of the things we are doing at the PPP unit, and we're looking forward to your support and contributions. and making sure that the PPP program in Ghana becomes a success. Of course, it's not as if there won't be it's not as if PPPs at times they are in failures. Failures that are bound to happen, but I'm sure with your support, collaboration, we all in proper project preparation, we will be able to come some of the pitfalls that had been alluded to by the earlier presenters yesterday regarding PPP projects. So on that note, thank you for your attention. Then further contact details on the Public Investment Division are up there. Thank you.